All righty, welcome back to the Big Weekend Show. So talks are resuming today amid the historic strike against Detroit's big three automakers, Ford, GM, and Stellantis. But all the Biden administration can really think about is its big green dream. Take Mayor Pete. Transportation Secretary Buttigieg is placing all of his focus on the lack of reliable charging stations on the road for his hybrid minivan, saying, quote, "Imagine what it would be like if you couldn't be sure when you pulled into a gas station that you'd actually get gas out of it." Of course, we don't have that problem. Meanwhile, a Wall Street Journal op-ed highlights how a lack of chargers are turning road trips into nightmares for electric car drivers, like Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm, a scene similar to National Lampoon's Vacation.
I'll tell you something, this is no longer a vacation. It's a quest. It's a quest for fun. I'm gonna have fun, and you're gonna have fun. We're all gonna have so much fun, we'll need plastic surgery to remove our smiles.
All righty, boy, I love that movie. The op-ed poking fun at the White House, saying, quote, "Biden administration officials remain on a passionate quest to prove that efficient petroleum-free travel is not a fiction. Griswold maintains that on a long drive, getting there is half the fun. For taxpayers and consumers, though, the quest for eTravel may turn out to be no fun at all." Lisa Booth. I remember, everyone will remember, and it goes past quickly in the news, of Granholm's, it was a little exciting and dramatic. They were going on this trip about the greatness of the e-cars, electricity. There weren't enough chargers. At one point, a woman called 911 on the Energy Secretary because they had blocked one of the usable chargers. Now, isn't this kind of a microcosm of the problems we have in general with this?
Well, yeah, because it doesn't make sense and it doesn't work. And by the way, important point, the car that was blocking was a gas-powered car.
That is correct.
Important point to make. But look, nobody wins in this push for electric vehicles besides China. And Joe Biden, he tries to, I'm Scranton Joe, I'm a union, all these union guys, people like me. And he's not Scranton Joe, he's China Joe. Because the reality is this push for all new car vehicle sales to be electric by 50% by 2030, it really only benefits China, who manufacture 80% of electric vehicle batteries. The public doesn't want it. You go to 2022, only 6% of new car sales were electric vehicles. This is not good for the workers, the auto workers. Even the New York Times admitted recently that electric vehicles require less parts, less labor, that this is actually going to accelerate the decline of unions, what he's doing. And it's also not good for the car manufacturers because they don't make money from this. So instead, he's putting a gun to the head of manufacturers to lose money and also to send auto worker jobs overseas.
I'm wondering why Hillary hasn't told all the auto workers yet to learn to code. Because isn't that what she would say? So, Joey, at the same time, you've got, a lot of people were upset because they have bought the electric cars. They couldn't get the charging. This is Buttigieg's problem. It was the problem of the woman who called 911. But beyond the availability of chargers, what about the availability of electricity itself? The nature of where electricity comes from, which is coal, and that already our system is breaking down. The infrastructure is breaking down when it comes to delivery of power. You can ask Californians about this. Isn't this like thinking about day one and not thinking about day two, and if this is even really possible?
Non-fossil fuel energy will be the future, but the future could come in 100 years. It could come in 1,000 years. We don't know. It's rare to find an opportunity to overhaul an industry that is so necessary and vital to our survival. It's rare to find an example of the government doing a successful job of overhauling it in such a way that we just turn away from all we know and all that is efficient. What bothers me about this probably most on the electric car, a little bit different things to say about the union workers, but on the electricity side is that you can spit in my face and tell me it's raining. You can tell me to go buy an electric vehicle because it has a lower carbon footprint, which is the carbon footprint term itself is a sham. That I would be doing less to harm the environment if I bought an electric vehicle. But when people like Senator Kennedy press our secretaries and the people in charge about how much this would actually change our carbon footprint, they don't have that answer. When we talk about where does the electricity come from, it comes from burning coal. You have both
I thought it
parties.
came from a key on a kite.
Both parties are still very averse to nuclear energy.
Now, see, that's the answer, isn't it? Now, at the same time, so I want you to, Well, we've got a bit of a clip here from the Ford president and CEO, Jim Farley, saying why, we got this strike going on. They want more money. Let's listen to him for a second, Joe.
All right.
There's a fine line here that we won't go past, which is we want everyone to participate in our success. But if it prevents us from investing in this transition to EVs and in future products like the ones we have now, like new F-150, best-selling vehicle in the world, in the U.S., then everyone's job's at risk if we don't invest. So there's a line.
Isn't this about social engineering here? So everybody is like trying to get on board with what we want it to look like versus what consumers want.
Yeah.
If it's realistic, if you can drive for as long as you want, if you can get the kind of power cars you want, that it's none of the government's business, but they're just pushing forward anyway.
Realistic, that's the word that you used, and it's the proper word to use here. Mike Tyson, since we'll go back to sports again, he once had one of the great quotes of all time, all right? He's about to fight a guy named Tyrell Biggs, and this is when Tyson was unbeatable. And a reporter says, Tyrell Biggs says he has a great plan to beat you. He studied you on film. He has a plan. And then Tyson just looks at him and says, everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth. Yep. Right? And this is what's happening with Democrats right now, where they talk about how we can make this transition nice and easy from gas cars to electric cars. And they don't realize the fact that we have 280 million car owners in this country. How many electric chargers are you going to need to power those cars, particularly when you live in a place like Miami or when you live in Los Angeles, New York, Hoboken? I don't care. And I live in an apartment complex and there's 1,000 people in my apartment building. You're going to put 1,000 chargers in there? I mean, this is not based in any sort of reality. And by the way, 2/3 of Americans right now can afford an emergency of $500. The average electric car costs $60,000 to buy. Who can afford this, particularly among the low and middle class? And that's why the Democratic Party has gone from the party of the working man and woman to the party of elites. And it doesn't base in any reality or common sense whatsoever, Tammy.
Lisa, you want to chime in?
Well, I was going to ask, was this pre or post ear bite? But
Pre, 10 years pre.
Okay, very good. Point of reference.
Yeah.
But no, there's also politics in play, right? The UAW had previously endorsed Joe Biden in 2020. They're holding that endorsement for now. So we'll see. He's basically betraying a large portion of his, base, the Democrat base, in favor of these coastal elites. So we'll see if it costs him in Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Michigan, some of these other states.
One more point on this push for electric cars. I believe it goes beyond green energy. I think it has more to do with control. Because what comes with an electric car is the opportunity to self-drive, the opportunity to control that car remotely, and ultimately to track our every movement. Right. And I wholeheartedly believe that in the party of Democrats, especially far-left liberals, control is the ultimate goal. There's always a social engineering. If green energy is in the driver's seat, control's in the back seat. And I think that that's a big scare that I have for this. Tesla being the Ford Pinto of our time, it'll spontaneously combust at any time, doesn't make it a better car. It's a car that can be controlled remotely.
And look, we already think about, you got chargers in the urban area, and then suddenly there won't be chargers beyond a certain point. And then what kinds of plans can you make? None, not really. All right, great conversation, guys. Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.